Hey everybody, Caleb here, and today I am joined by Mr. Josh. Mr. Josh has been on one video before. You were in the April Fool's video, and you've been behind the camera a couple of times for the Christmases, running either recording or camera.
Yep.
Why I'm joined by Mr. Josh, Festly on Amazon sent me a guitar kit, and I thought it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense for me to put a guitar kit together by myself, since I kind of do guitars pretty frequently. So I thought I'd bring Mr. Josh along. And what do you know about guitars, Josh?
Nothing.
Exactly. So that's the perfect amount to know to get started on a kit. And that's kind of where I wanted to go with this, is if we can take somebody who really doesn't know a lot about doing guitars or that sort of thing to put a kit together and see how well it goes. If it goes well, it's a good sign of a good kit. So I figured we do that. So step one, we got to open this box. I have not opened this box yet. Troy wouldn't let me open the box.
Oh.
I wanted to open the box, but he said you got to do it on camera, so we're going to open the box. And of course, I've used the sharpest tool I can find. So we're going to together open this box. Let's see if I can know how to open the box.
Another box.
Oh, there's a box within the box. Going great already. Okay, we're going to point the camera down a little bit so we can see what we're doing here. Maybe. No, we're not. Okay. Here. Be careful, it's sharp.
Okay.
Would you believe it? It's another box.
Got
All
all the parts for this.
So I imagine this is the body. Oh, these aren't sealed. Oh yeah, and also this comes with a book.
A book?
A book!
Ah, the instruction manual.
Now, as American men, we will not be reading that. There's the body. That is still sealed. The part we're the most curious about. What does it look like? Oh, looks pretty good. These are a snack for later.
So is this about normal size?
I think so.
Yep.
I'm not super familiar with them. I'm not doing kits normally. The back is 3 pieces. One of them is a slightly different color than the other two. But I think that's a seam there. That's obviously a seam there. The top is 2 pieces joined down the center. I think they said this was veneered, so while it is a maple top, the whole thing is maple. There's a thin sheet that looks good that's just laminated on top.
Okay.
It's sealed. It actually is sealed really nicely, so like it's really smooth. That's kind of an issue for some people if they want to put color on it. Like the way I typically do color is just put the dye straight on. But since it's sealed, it won't really take that. So you'd have to seal that sander, or seal the sanding seal. Sand the sanding sealer off if you wanted to put color on it. But that's not what we're going to do on that one. We're just going to tint the clear. Besides that, it looks good. It's really smooth. We're probably going to need to rough it up before we put finish on it.
Okay.
And do a lot of taping.
Taping?
Taping. Make sure we get the color where we want it.
Cool.
Okay, now we're going to look at the neck. The neck is the first thing I want to do because it's going to require the most amount of dry time for what all I want to do to it.
Don't mind if I do.
Yeah, go for it. I'll open the last box, which I'm sure is all the electronics.
More snacks.
Guard, back plate, pickups. Oh.
I like the look.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks actually...
It's just as smooth.
So it's got just a little bit of pointiness to those frets.
Mm-hmm.
The edges, you can kind of just barely fit. They actually, they're pretty good. It is probably better than most stuff you could just go pull off a shelf, which is kind of a surprise, but that's also really easy to fix. that little bit of grippiness, we can do that.
So do you want it pretty smooth to
Yeah,
slide
you'd
down
want it
fast?
really smooth. You don't want to feel it. You don't want
Okay.
to have to think about it. So when it's really just the edges, the corners of those
Yeah.
is catching just barely. That's being like really, really picky about it.
Sure.
Ultimately, because you're not once the strings are on there, your fingers are off it there. You're not really feeling it as much, but really, it's really pretty good. Headstock has their name on it. See if you can see it. We're gonna maybe do something about that a little different. That'll be what we do pretty quick because I'm gonna want to paint this black. I think it's gonna look good black, and we'll put my name on it.
Okay.
Just because that'll be fun.
Yeah.
So, what is this? This is some kind of mahogany, or mahogany adjacent. It is scarfed right here. I don't know if you can see that. You can see that joint. Yeah, pretty obvious. It's about the same wood that's on the back, I think. But it is smooth right now. Yeah?
Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
Probably pretty similar.
The front is something dark. I don't know if it's actually dark or if it's been dyed. But it's nice. It looks nice. It needs oiled. It's dry.
Are these little squares on here like normally that kind of vibrant color?
Yeah, they're the inlay.
Okay.
I'm sure these are plastic, but typically, like traditionally, they're like mother of pearl or abalone, which comes from like ocean. But plastic's a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
And it still looks pretty good. The board's a little dry. Once we oil that up, that's gonna look really good.
Cool.
And then the big bag of electronics and plastics. This should come with everything we need. Basically, I think really all you would need to make this work is a screwdriver.
Really?
So,
Okay.
pickups. We're going to do a little bit more than that. All the plastics. All the tuners. Strings. They're not color-coded, which is going to make it very difficult to decide which string is which. But that's pretty common. More hardware. Back plate. That's for attaching the neck.
Oh, okay.
What is nice about this one is, so this is all the electronics, because on the inside they all have quick connects, which makes this like 1,000% easier. So these just
Cool.
click in with
Yeah.
the pickups. And then I think it's just instrument cable. So you can plug it in. Okay,
Cool.
so we got everything we need. I think we're in the let's get started phase. I gotta decide where we're gonna get started. I think it's gonna be the headstock. Alright, well, Josh is flipping through the manual here. I said we weren't gonna read it, but it's probably good that we at least take a look at it. Festly also offers a Stratocaster style kit, the S style kit. I think they call it the ST on their page, and it's a little bit cheaper. But when they asked me what I wanted, I said I wanted this one. Because I had a yellow Epi just like in a similar setup as this, and I sold it last year, I think. So I was thinking maybe I could find a good replacement. But as we got this out, I wanted to see how well this neck fit in the pocket, because especially for kits and bolt-ons, you don't usually get the best results, but I'm actually surprised by how well that fits in there, like that it holds it up to that much. This thing is not light by any means. So to get a bolt-on neck pocket that fits this well is surprising, and it's nice. It's a welcome surprise. Okay, so I think the first thing I'm going to do, because I want to paint that headstock, the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fill their name. Just because, unfortunately, I'm painting over their name and putting mine on it. So I'm just going to put some wood filler on there. And then I'm going to have you take this tape and tape up like around here, so I'm just getting this face.
Okay.
You can tape up all the way. I need all of this taped up too at some point, but
So cover up everything but the face.
right now, yes.
Okay.
Okay. And you can use either roll. I have more of
Sure.
that, but it's thinner, so that's thicker. While he does that, I'm gonna go grab the hardware. because Josh reminded me. I want to put a custom truss rod cover on this thing. And so I need measurements. I spent most of yesterday trying to get I spent most of yesterday trying to get my laser cutter working. I'm finally getting it working like I want it to. So custom truss rod covers are easy. I just need the old one out of here.
I'm not worried about the back of this.
Not really.
Cool.
So this is the truss rod cover they sent with it. It's this little black triangle guy. I just needed measurements off of this so I can go get the laser cutter cutting mine. So I'm going to go do that while you do this.
Sure.
I'm dropping stuff.
I'm actually really excited for this. I don't know anything about guitars or the process of them, and I'm already learning a lot.
Did you know that I can't run a computer if I don't have a mouse?
That I did know.
Well, I learned that right now. All right.
Similar? Just like right on the edges and then hold down this?
Yes, please.
Cool.
Okay, I've got the laser cutter running. I should be recording some footage of that on my phone. I'm going to get started on this guy. Same thing. You're going to have done a super clean job, and you're going to watch me do the world's dirtiest job, just slapping tape in there.
Well, now that I'm covering up this stuff, I might need bigger pieces.
You're more than welcome to take the bigger pieces. I probably should be using the thinner pieces. Alright, so the actual important part on taping this up is making sure these faces don't get muddied up, because, you know, they're the meeting faces, they're the ones that are going to be...
Sure. So that means that, like, you won't even sand it at all or anything?
Yeah, we won't touch this face or the back where it meets with it at
Cool.
all.
Yeah, it did fit pretty snug in there, so... Makes sense.
And on this one, I don't really need to tape these in because, you know, they're just going to be dropped in on top of them.
Sure.
I just think ultimately it looks a little cleaner if they're clean on the inside.
Yeah. Yeah, the perfectionist in me is really showing.
Well, I'm glad. That part's going to look really good.
So obviously the tape on this isn't going to interfere with any, you know, performance or anything, right? Like, well,
No.
Once it comes off.
Yeah, we're going to pull it off. And that's going to come off pretty quickly because...
Because of the inlay stuff?
Well, and I'm going to run out there and... So basically I'm priming this black.
Okay.
And then after that's done, it gets the same finish on here and all down the back. Now on the top, that's going to be different because that's going to stay unfinished. It'll stay raw wood.
Okay. Cool.
But yeah, it'll won't take too long. What I probably should have done on this is just stuff some newspaper in here, in these holes.
Oh.
And that would have been sufficient.
Not really worth taping them over. Or is that what we're
It
doing?
is. It's just really kind of tedious.
Yeah. So surely this is more than just like a spray paint thing. Like this is going to be a...
So from the actual finish that goes on top, it's going to be coming out of the gun. It's going to be clear instrument lacquer.
Okay.
It's specific for this purpose. as far as what I'm going to do the face with, it's black, which will basically be an undercoat for everything else.
Okay.
I am just going to prime that with like primer spray paint.
Cool.
Alright, so what I'm going to work on next is I've got these taped up. I'm going to, because we're doing color on the top and we're not doing color on the sides, I'm going to end up taping all around the sides.
Okay.
I got so close. Oh, man. So this top has the plastic binding around the side, the same as kind of like the neck did.
Yeah.
Part of the reason they do that is because it makes putting color on the top and not the sides easier. Because it's plastic, after you do the color, if you get color on the plastic, you can just scrape it away.
Okay.
Because you're not really going to stain the plastic. But it also gives it that nice, like, clean edge.
Right.
Which is why now that I put this tape on here and I'm just kind of running the knife against it, I'm not super worried about it because it's that plastic edge.
And that's pretty most common.
For this style of guitar, yeah. I mean, even on like acoustics, they do the binding. It's to cover up the seams.
Okay.
Because it's easier to make plastic fit seams than it is wood.
Yeah.
You know, we've just gotten so used to that being the look that it's just common. Some people expect it. The other thing is, like, around the holes, basically everything gets covered up with something for all the same reasons. It's like to cover up any little flaws. So there'll be a metal washer basically that sits around the hole.
Okay.
Just cover up any
Yeah.
oopses. Even like these holes, they had covered up with bigger plastic parts. They knew what they were doing when they started these. They knew how to cover up their mistakes. That's most of it. And that's like, well, truthfully, that's a lot of my job is either covering up mine or somebody else's. It's fine. That's good.
Okay.
Okay, so we are basically just about ready for color. I want to do just a tiny amount of sanding on this guy.
Okay.
That I'm gonna go prime. So let me find some sandpaper I want to use on that.
All right.
Because I don't really know. So the thing is, with those veneers, it's a really thin sheet glued to the top, right? You can sand through that really easily. Really accidentally. And suddenly you've ruined your top.
Okay.
So we don't want to do that, so I'm going to find some relatively fine grit. Somewhere in the 400 area if I can find it. So it's not going to need much. This is just like barely touch it up. I don't have scissors over here because I took them over there. What do I do with a knife? So, just real lightly. I'm not really putting any pressure down. I'm just letting my fingers sit on it. Go over the whole thing.
Okay.
I'm gonna go prime this real quick, and I will be right back. Just hit it real softly once over the whole thing. You should probably feel that it's gonna be a little bit grittier.
Yeah, that's... I'm like so nervous to touch this.
I may have jumped the gun slightly.
Okay.
I remembered I wanted to shave that top off.
Ah.
Probably should have done that first. So, I have that shape. But
Was that little top part just purely for aesthetic?
Yep.
Nice.
And purely for aesthetic, I wanted to shave it off.
Yeah.
So I need a new piece of tape.
Okay.
And then I think we can go out and start working on finish.
Okay.
So we went out and sprayed this guy. I had a little issue with my gun. I hope you guys got to see some of that, but I got a nice big splotch on there as well. It was a little splotchy at the beginning, so I'm hoping a little bit of steel wool won't fix that. Definitely fixes the splotchiness, but come on. Maybe. I'm gonna have to put some more on there. Okay. Why don't you give the rest of that a once over with that?
Okay.
While you do that.
Need to be all in one direction, like kind of flowing.
Not
down.
particularly. It should be fine. So while he does that, I did cut me out my my truss rod cover that I want to use. I'm hoping I can get it out of here. It didn't quite cut all the way through, but got really close, so I'm hoping that it'll just break out pretty easy where I can just use a knife and trim it. So, there you go. I got my pair of 2s on there. So I was going to fill it with white. I kind of dig the way it is currently. I'm kind of thinking about not filling it with white.
I like it.
Leaving it just that. That's probably what I'll do. I'll just leave it there. I'm going to take a little file and clean up the edges a little bit more, but... Okay. That.
This.
Yep. Let me see where we're at here.
I think it helped some, but it was starting to come light over there, and so I kind of backed off.
The finishing is the worst part.
Yeah.
Like by a mile, which is why that's the only part that's not done on this when they send it to you, really. And yeah, you can see I'm knocking some off, but inevitably I'm going to have to respray this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not super concerned. Yeah, I knew we were going for pink. I didn't really know we were going for watermelon. I dig it, though. I really like it. It's cool.
Between the green tape,
Yeah.
the black.
The green tape really it sells you on the watermelon. It's hard because it's in a really weird state right now to say that it looks good. But you can tell it's going to look good.
Yeah. No, I can already feel like the excitement to peel the tape off once it's going, and
it's in a really weird state because right now it does not look good. It looks kind of bad, splotchy and pink. But you can tell it's moving in the direction of looking good.
Yeah.
Next step, unfortunately, I think is run to town and get a new spray gun.
Yeah.
That's okay. We can do that. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Well, let's go do that, I guess.
All right.
All right. So we got this painted. If I say painted, it's lacquered. It's not paint, except for that one. That one is painted. I'm happy with this. This is probably going to be the end of day one. We'll let this totally dry. Let the primer totally dry because the next thing to do on the headstock is the stencil. The next thing to do on here is I think we're going to do some sanding to kind of knock that color back. We were aiming for pink and we kind of went maybe a little bit too far. But I was trying to get rid of that splotch. And on camera, it's gone. I can't see it. I mean, it's in there somewhere. But I think we take some steel wool. We knock back some of the color. Maybe in the middle and kind of fan it out so it goes a little redder towards the edges. I think it'll look really cool.
I'm ready for day 2.
Yeah, and then we're day 2. All right, welcome to day 2. So this sat up overnight. I held this a bunch last night, actually. I really wanted to keep working on it, and I was like, no, I'll wait. Plus, I wanted it to be hard, so when we go sand it and the finish is nice and hard, it's easier. We're not going to mess anything up. But you can look at that. On camera, it looks just a little bit lighter than it looks in person, I think, especially in, like, here. You can see it looks really pink on there. I think we're going to try to lighten this up a little bit, just take some new steel wool. And what I'm thinking about doing is focusing on the center, do a little bit harder there, and just kind of feather it out so it becomes darker.
Like a gradient type thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that would be kind of cool if we can accomplish it. If we can't, we can always spray more finish on it. Not a big deal.
Yeah.
What I did do before Josh got here today was I recut another truss rod cover. I wasn't real happy. If I wanted to fill that one wasn't really deep enough, so I cut a new one, and I did film me putting some filler in there. We'll clean that up in a little bit once it's dry, because it is still very tacky. But I did that, and then I cut out the stencil a little bit better. So right now, you can kind of see there's a hole in the eye, but the rest of it will peel off when I peel the backing off. This is double stick tape that I used on the laser cutter. We'll stick it on there, and I'll paint the name on there eventually. That might be the first thing we do. Besides that, I retaped this actually so that we can have a total clear spot where we want to put some clear on here. This is where it mates up with that pretty good. I pulled all the tape off here, you can see.
Yeah.
And it looks good. I like those nice clean black lines. I touched it up with Sharpie a little bit. You can see where it's glossy. But after you clear coat, you'll never see it again.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay,
the
cool.
Sharpie is great. That's I've got a set of brown Sharpies, like 1,000 shades of brown Sharpie. I almost guarantee I'm the only person who bought brown Sharpies because for filling in little bits of color on wood, they're fantastic.
Sure. I mean, if it goes away with clear coat, then...
Yeah, and you hardly ever notice it. But colored Sharpies are the best. Okay, so I think we start here.
Okay.
I got some steel wool out that's not been used. I'm just going to rip some off. I'm going to try this just a little bit and then I'll let you go. I'm not real certain how much this is going to take. So the first thing it's doing is it's going to dull. Like you can see it gets dull. It's not quite so shiny.
Yeah.
That's a really good way to see where you've been. Let me shove those in there a little bit deeper so they're not in the way.
Yeah, it really loses its like reflectiveness.
Yeah, and what becomes really obvious as you do this is the low spots, because the low spots you're not hitting keep staying shiny.
Okay.
So you can kind of even the finish out a little bit this way. But
will it lose its like glossy texture?
So it's actually going to end up being smoother.
Oh, okay.
Because what you're kind of doing is sanding away the high spots just a little bit. Okay. I'm going to give this to you.
Sure. So we're looking to do just kind of like a light touch on the outer edges.
Yeah, and then maybe a little heavier in the middle. But right now, if you can get kind of all of it to this kind of first started phase where it's smoother, that would be good.
Yeah.
You don't have to put down a lot of pressure. Just move the thing around. You'll notice it'll become pretty obvious pretty quick, I think. I'm going to put this stencil on here. What I questioned doing was clear coating this before I put the stencil on, so that when I go to peel this back off, I don't peel any black paint. However, I think I decided that because this is basically just primer, it'd be easier to just black paint over missing spots than it would to try to like match finish and everything, match finish thickness. So ultimately I decided this was going to be the easiest option. Let me peel the backing off of this guy.
So I'm touching all of this with this?
Yeah, why don't you just do the whole thing.
Oh yeah, that really does show up pretty quick.
Now what I have to do here on peeling this off is make sure that I keep like the inside of the L attached, the inside of the S attached. I'm doing a pretty good job. So that we don't have big bubble letters that you can't tell what they are. I think that's a good spot.
Yeah.
Press that down on there, and I will get some paint, and I'm going to do that real quick. Now, this is an entirely unnecessary step.
Oh, yeah?
Everything we're doing right now, or I'm doing over here, is entirely cosmetic, not super important, and I'm making it way harder than it needs to be.
Not going to affect sound or anything like that at all?
No, but in the end, I think it'll end up looking cooler.
Okay.
For doing it. And, you know, there's probably better paints to use than the little cheap bottle of acrylic, but since we're clear coating over it, I'm really not worried about it. So this was supposed to be the same font as is on my t-shirt. The problem was I had to cut out gaps to keep the insides of the L's and the inside of the S.
Yeah.
So it took a little bit of adjustment to get to the point in which I could use it that way.
I know that we also toyed around with the idea of gold inlay on the
Trust Ride cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was thinking about that too. What I almost could do is where, like I did that with the white, I could almost do that with the gold and then scrape off the top, just flood it.
Okay.
The void. It might be something to try.
Yeah.
I want to do the white one first. If we like the white one, then I will do it to this one with the gold and see if we can get it looking good. I don't remember if we said it on video yesterday, but as Dad and I were looking at that last night, it was very much, it's watermelon. That is the current color that it is.
Yes.
It is watermelon. Which I don't know of anybody who has one in watermelon. Definitely not a common color.
Well, first for everything.
Well, and I didn't tell Dad we were doing it in pink, or we were aiming for pink, and he was a little surprised by that. But I was like, no, nobody has them in pink. Nobody does them in pink. Pink's nice, loud, and it's just so saturated.
Yes. Yes.
It is such a saturated color currently. It's I never see them that.
I just love the pop that it gives to the eye whenever you look at it.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it the most.
It's like
Yeah,
we were looking at them online, and I have seen there is a pink one online, but it is a much paler pink, like not nearly as saturated. I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, that looks good on there. I think you clear coat that and that'll be good. So I'm done with this actually. That's ready for clear coat. Let me get everything else out of the way. I like it on camera. I think it's a little bit better pink than it was. It's a little bit lighter, especially in here.
In right here a lot too. I mean, kind of up there.
Okay, I think we'll go clear coat this thing.
Cool.
We'll do the neck too.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we just got back from outside spraying this thing with clear, and I'm happy with it. I think it looks really good. I think you're going to be hard-pressed to find another one anywhere near this color. And that alone is a positive. So, if you want to pull that tape off of the outside,
Okay.
we will still need it in here. If it comes off in there, don't worry about it. We can just retape it.
Okay.
Tape's cheap. I'm going to look at this guy. Oh, it's getting close.
And along these edges too?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
The whole, basically, if it's not in the cavities,
Okay.
then it can come off.
Cool.
I like it so much more with the white border.
Oh, I know.
Once we get it on the top.
So are there some people that will keep it over the exact edges like this?
So,
Or is it just like
no,
common knowledge
typically,
to...
you're going to scrape off the plastic.
Got
What you might see, especially on, which is kind of a weird thing to say this, but what you might see on cheaper instruments, because the whole point you put the plastic on is to cover up the seam so it covers it and looks better.
Mhm.
But on a cheaper instrument these days, they can get away without doing that because it matches up pretty good.
Okay.
So then what they'll do is they'll basically just mask off the entire side. The whole top is colored and there's no plastic on it at all. It's just, usually you see that when the side is done in a dark color, so it covers up the seam in the dark color.
Oh, okay.
But because we're leaving the side, or when we're doing a bright color and we're leaving the sides natural, the binding helps cover up that seam.
Yeah.
Now what's really funny is because of the shape, because this whole thing is not flat, right? It goes like this. Right here, you have plastic binding. That is the wooden top, the same as the rest of it. And then,
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
which is really common on these style guitars, even like in the vintage, really expensive ones, like the originals, they have this seam of
Of double?
the top
Yeah.
underneath what should be covering it up, just because like it has to come up that hill, and it's just not tall enough. It would have to be
Interesting.
stupid thick to cover it up.
Okay. Makes sense.
Okay, so now as for doing this is one of those jobs. that you can mess up really easy.
I'm gonna watch you do this before I even attempt. Okay.
So, I would recommend using a rounded blade rather than that straight one.
Sure.
I think it's just easier. I will give you this one.
And so that clear line is indicating where the end of the plastic is?
Yes.
Well, most of the time there's a clear line.
Right.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be perfect, because if you can't see the line, you won't see it after it's done. So just take off what looks
Sure.
right of plastic, and yeah. So you're just scraping it off.
Yeah.
Here, you can have this. I'll go find another round blade somewhere.
Okay.
See, I would recommend choking up on it, and if you want to put a piece of tape around the blade so you're not,
Yeah.
you can do that. I do that a lot.
I can be kind of hard with it. a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, as far as scraping goes, yeah.
Yeah.
pretty much.
Trying to figure out the best grip for this.
Here is a tool I have not gotten out in a long time.
Oh boy.
This is basically the same as that.
So I'm like, okay. I gotta figure out grip. Like,
So, yeah, I'm all the way up here
okay.
and just using that front edge to...
Okay.
Kind of like coloring in with a pencil.
Yeah.
Except
The
you're
shine of
coloring-
this is the hardest part.
You're coloring out with a knife. And you don't have to go super fast. This is definitely something I'll screw up by going too fast.
Mm-hmm. You have to sharpen these ever?
So the one you've got is disposable. A couple years ago, an old doctor guy sent me a ton.
This did give off scalpel vibes.
That is exactly what that is. The one I've got is disposable too, but I don't have any replacements, which is why I don't really use it very often.
Mm-hmm.
I think I actually do have replacements somewhere. It's just that unfortunately the scalpels, they're just so easy.
Yeah.
'Cause you just peel it open and it's sharp and you're done. Move on. Yeah, I've gotten to using the scalpels for a lot.
I mean, it makes sense why surgeons and doctors use them.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Which is funny because they come sterilized.
Nice.
That's the only thing though, is like, you've gotten out this tool that has been made for cutting flesh.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what it's really good at? Accidentally cutting yourself. I don't cut myself very often with those tools. But I do cut myself fairly frequently with tools you shouldn't be cutting yourself with. Palette knives, that's a big one. Like artist
Yeah.
knives. Because I sharpen those up. Stuff
Oh.
for like poking holes, I cut myself with that a
How
lot.
often are you using a palette knife?
Anytime I use separate glue joints,
Got it.
I use it for that because they're kind of strong, a little flexible, and I can put a little sharp edge on them. Oh yeah, liking the white. The white's looking good. Just
Yeah.
looking at where you got.
This bring me back to art class. And staying in the lines.
You know, I didn't have an art class since like 6th grade.
Oh, you're lucky.
No, I was a band kid.
That's right. I was not the musically inclined one. I got stuck taking my fine arts with Art 1. Fine arts credit, anyways.
Did you do any art classes at college?
No. No.
Because I know like you have to take something that's like generally in that area.
I had one that was like, it was more of a, it was like South American dance culture, one of those.
Yeah.
You know, not like a
art class per se.
One that dealt with the arts, not so much.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I always end up in the music classes. I did like music appreciation in college and like history of jazz or something like that. Influences of jazz, something.
That's kind of cool.
And then guitar 1 and guitar 2. And
See, I should have taken those. Might have helped out more for situations like this, but, you know.
I had a good time at guitar. Guitar was a good class. I mean, it wasn't, you know. He basically said, if you show up and you participate, you're going to get an A.
Yeah. That's how a lot of these
I mean, it's
art classes are.
It's a performative art class. I don't know what you expect. I guess I didn't actually take guitar 2. It was private instruction. So it was like 1 semester of guitar and then 1 semester of private instruction. So
That's
actually,
cool.
that was the best I was ever at guitar. I have never been that good at guitar. Again. So that's the other way I've been holding it. Is I'll grab both ends and use it. Like a big wide scraping tool. Yeah, that's about it. We'll just have to make sure we get it cleaned off before we go clear coating.
Yeah.
But I think that's that. Where are we at? Right there. Look at that. I'm thrilled. That's.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
I'll put those away so we're not cutting ourselves. Okay, I think we're ready for more finish, right?
Yeah.
Nothing else to do.
Do we want to make sure it's cleaned off, or?
Yeah, we can kind of do that on the way out, but
Yeah.
I think it's good as long as we're not collecting dust bits. Okay, let's go spray some more finish.
Cool.
Okay, welcome to day 3. I did this a little bit last night after this dried up. Here's the truss rod cover. You'll get a better look at it once we get it attached, I'm sure, but I'm pretty happy with that. I think it's looking really good. I went ahead and untaped the fretboard. We still have to untape the body. I got some steel wool out, and I've got some polishing pads out. I'm going to start with some steel wool to kind of smooth this out. Where I took the tape off, there's just a little bit of a seam, so I'm hoping I can just kind of smooth that out with the steel wool. I'm going to have Josh take the tape off, and then I'm going to give him some steel wool for the body. And we're just trying to smooth out the finish where we sprayed it on, because right now it's a little bit like orange peel. If you're familiar with like an actual orange peel, that's kind of that texture, and that. So what we want to do is kind of smooth that out, because then as I go to polish it, it'll go mirror smooth.
Okay.
So you can take the tape off and
Yeah.
then start going. I'm just gonna start on the neck. We got quite a few coats on yesterday. It was 4 or 5.
4 or
coats,
5, yeah.
and pretty heavy coats towards the end. Just trying to use up the last of the old finish I had. And we did. We used up the last of the old finish I had. Just trying to get this thing well coated. And then I let this sit overnight. It was quite a few hours. Last night I came down and was seeing how hard it was. It was pretty good then. Better. Oh, and then the other thing we got to do yet, before we start assembly, is sign the inside.
Oh. Okay.
Because, you know, we did it, so we got to sign it.
Is that a pretty common thing in
Yeah, I
this
think
world?
so. I mean, if I had stickers made up for me, we'd do that, but I don't have stickers made up for me.
that? Is fair enough.
So I'm just signing them with a Sharpie. On Troy's, I think we laser etched the back of the pick guard, the plastic piece in the middle.
Oh, cool.
But since I don't really want to put the pick guard on there, I
Yeah.
think we just sign the inside and cover it up with a pickup.
Okay.
Or the neck, somewhere in there. Somewhere where if somebody were to take it apart, they would see who done it and when. That's the other one. Just need the date on there. So that, you know, in 20 years when I take it apart and go, yeah, Josh and I built this. I'll know when it was.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I won't know. Having done this for, 4 years, it all blends together pretty quick. Good enough for me.
Cool.
Okay, so the next part is going to be fun.
Okay.
So we're going to take these little micro polishing pads. They're basically just sandpaper. They're just really, really small and really, really fine. And we're going to wet sand. And it's basically exactly what we just did, but these will really start to, they're like getting them closer to polishing. This will take out any scratches that the steel wool put in,
Okay.
and we'll start working our way up.
Same thing, body sides and back?
Yeah, so
Or front sides and back?
wet it down, and that'll help avoid scratches, basically, because there's like fine particulate, that you're taking off. And this is for removing, because every once in a while you're going to want to take off what you got, just so you can take off any of that dust that you've made and reapply some water.
Okay. So it's best to just spray
just
water
spray it
directly
down,
and then,
and
okay.
then you can just polish basically exactly what you were doing with the steel wool.
Cool.
And this will help get us a little bit closer to polished before I have to go take it to the buffer, which should finish it off. And what works pretty good is little round motions, like, Karate Kid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so wet sanding as opposed to just regular dry sanding is kind of removing those scratches like you said?
So basically all sanding is removing scratches to some degree as you go higher up. The reason you go wet is to avoid building up what you're sanding.
Okay.
It doesn't build up as much when you wet sand, so you can kind of, the water keeps it away and you don't put scratches in. Because that's the biggest problem with sanding is inevitably what you sand off gets built up on your sandpaper.
Yeah.
And it just scratches what you're doing.
Got it.
Headstock looks like we did it, but that's okay. Looks pretty good. Doing black is hard
Yeah.
because, it needs to be an absolute mirror for it to be perfect. But I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, I think that's probably good. I'm gonna go polish that, I guess.
Okay.
I'm not super worried about the back because once again, nobody's gonna see it, and it's kind of ugly. I don't know if we really showed this off on camera, but once I started putting clear coat on, before you couldn't see this seam at all. And once I started putting clear coat on, now you can see this seam. So now you really do see the three-piece back. I'm not super worried about it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Welcome to a guitar of this price. Plus, nobody looks at it from there. Everybody looks at this. And you're going to look at the pink because it's pink.
Yeah.
Alright, so I just finished polishing those up. We should be done with the water. I'll set that aside. Josh is giving her a wipe down to make sure I can pull any built up wax bits off. So, what we'll do, now I think it's time to sign it, so you pull that silver Sharpie out of there. And I'll figure out what we do. Today is 3/27/25. You think?
Mhm.
25. Alright, so it's signed. It's got us in it. It's upside down. But there it is. I dated it. We can start putting this guy together. Step one, does this fit? Now that I put finish on the sides. I was debating whether to do it. Well, that's good news. It's going to fit even tighter than before because I finished it. But there's our first look at what this is kind of going to look like. All
That's
put
cool.
Together.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't actually have to do that first, and it's probably easier if we don't. So first thing we're going to do is probably the electronics, at least most of them. So that comes in this kit, and this,
With this being electronics, should we wear gloves to not get dirt in it or anything?
I'm
Any
not
grime?
that worried about it. They're pretty resilient. We'll need some of these parts too, but let me. This is the brains of the operation.
I'm already feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah. Okay, we're doing fine. I don't know which one's which, but I'll figure it out pretty quick. This one's the bridge, this one's the neck. Worst case, we pull the book back out.
That's fair.
So, I'm going to start by flipping this thing over. I'm not sure how they want us to do this. Okay. So the switch goes in this hole. One of these ways. Well, then we'll just feed that in. These guys. This guy's going to end up here. From this way.
For like amp connect and stuff?
Yep, that's your output jack. Which we just drag through there. Hopefully. See if I regret doing that. And then we've got 2 knobs and 2 knobs in this. So this is a ground, and what we'll do is we'll end up connecting that to the wood as like a grounding.
Oh, interesting.
But the way that works, there's that tiny little hole right there, which leads. I'm gonna pull that back out because I don't want to set this on top of it. To this hole right there.
Okay.
And then when you shove the metal bushing in that goes in there, because then they'll screw into that, which is one of these guys, then it forces it in contact with the wood.
Okay.
So that's how you ground the wood on this, or how you ground it. It's yeah, pretty crude, but it works.
Yeah.
So now I'm just trying to figure out which one's which. Because this one's on this, that means that this has pretty much got to go this way, I would assume. Right, because that one goes in that hole.
Yeah.
So the closest makes sense. And I'm just putting it in the hole. What I might want to do is move the camera.
So that little hole doesn't go anywhere.
It just leads to that other hole on the outside, right there.
Oh, okay.
And then I need hardware for. So that goes on the outside, as well as a washer each. So we'll try to start getting those ready, figure out what I dropped. These need to go on the inside to stop them from spinning.
Okay.
So I got all 4 knobs at least started on there. What I'm not totally sure is where this is supposed to end up. They screwed them all on. They ran all the wires all the way up to this hole. The ones that would fit, go that far. Pull the cable far enough to hold it on the surface. We did that. We did that. Look at that. Don't even have to look at the instructions. Okay, they do this first. Which that's fine. We can do that first. When Troy and I did his, so his only has one pickup. It's this one. It doesn't have the front one. But you still had to connect this to the control cavity. But the way these are done is all that routing is done before the top is put on.
Oh.
So the maple top just goes on top to cover up all these holes. On his, it doesn't have a maple top. It's just solid. So we just had to have a drill bit that was like this long. We're just like blindly aiming for the cavity and hoping it doesn't poke out the back. That was fun. Good times.
I assume it all worked out?
Yeah, it worked out fine. Somewhere I've got the really long drill bit. We had to go buy it. It was like, I don't know, man. Why would I own a drill bit that's this long?
Yeah.
Alright, I've packed that in there. I think there's just a little bit of excess there that we don't quite need. I'll go ahead and put that plate on there because we're done with it. So this plate goes right in there.
Okay.
I don't know which screws, but we'll figure it out. Probably similar ones to the ones I just used.
It looks like about the same.
So they're wedged slightly because of how the strings come across this. Because you notice how this is wedged.
Mm-hmm.
So the strings are going to be kind of coming up towards it. They have the same wedge.
Okay.
Because there's not really a flat surface. I mean, like, you could consider this flat, but...
Because these pick up the vibrations of the string.
Yeah.
Are they pretty delicate?
They can be. Not usually. They're pretty... I mean, we've had years and years to figure out how it all works. I'm having a hard time getting it back in there. Wondering if there's something in my way. Go through. So it's all magnets. Like, the strings are magnetic.
Interesting.
And as the strings vibrate in front of these magnets, it creates the electrical field.
Oh my god.
And that's how it actually does the pickup part.
Okay.
So then when you run it out of the guitar, you run it into an amplifier, which is literally just amplifying the waves.
The waves, yeah.
And that's it.
Wow.
That is how it works. It's very... I'm going to... Tired of that one. Okay, I'm trying this one first. Okay, so this wedge goes this way, I think. Both wedged taller in the back, yes. Which is kind of weird because this one is on this side. So I have to go.
No, we're made through here. Yeah, there we go.
Okay. We can mount them now at least. My real only complaint so far is that all of the screws are in one bag.
Yeah. No A screws, B screws.
Yeah. It's
Cool.
a guitar. Okay, so this is done for right now. I've still got a couple pieces to put on, but they'll go on with the strings. So the neck, I've got tuners. I've got this guy. This guy is for fixing that. Remember when I said earlier it was just barely catching the corners of my thumb?
Yes.
So this file is a really fine file, but it's only file on two sides. The bottom is rounded over, so it doesn't have any grit, no cut there. So you can put that rounded over end on the wood.
Okay.
And just kind of round over those edges. So this is, I like to put my finger out here, so I kind of have control.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see it gets shiny where I'm knocking those corners off. Yeah. So you can probably see the difference between this one and this one now.
Yeah, for sure.
So actually, I'm going to let you do a little bit of this side.
Okay. So you said just kind of like that?
So keep the rounded side down, so just like that. It's a rounded edge.
Mhm.
So the rounded is the safe edge. You're not going to file any off of that. Just off of the sides are you going to file.
So I'm like this?
Go a little bit further down. Like that, yeah. And then just kind of work rounding it over. And it doesn't take a whole lot. See what you got already. Doing pretty good. Do just a little bit more. But that's about it. It's not going to take much. And then the other side of the same fret. This is one of those things that not doing it to doing it is it's little. It's not a huge deal, but it makes it feel like somebody actually cared.
Yeah.
And because that's what one of this is, doing it fast becomes valuable. Show that guy off. Look at that. Yeah, I dig it. It's cool. The white looks good with the... I got a little bit of dust in there, but I think it's fine. Let's do that real quick. Grab that cloth there. Just use not that part. Use this part.
Yep.
Here, I'll let you rub this in.
Just kind of all over the front?
Yeah, all
Okay.
that raw wood. I was thinking you don't need more than that. Try going a long ways, just a couple quick, yeah. It won't really stick to the frets, so as you, yes, you need more than that. Just, okay, there you go. I didn't feel like that was enough. So it really darkens that up,
Yeah, it does.
and there's a
Cleans
little,
up the marble.
yeah, there's also beeswax in there, so as you play, it's slicker, it's faster, and it feels waxy, but it is food safe, so it's not like you have to worry about getting it on you. I'm a big fan of. I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Great. I dropped something else. Yeah. I continue to drop things. I think it's screws for these. Getting these guys out. This is the last thing we need to do before we start putting it together. Like really putting it together. I'll get down there and get it here in a
I have
second.
no idea where they went.
So I think these guys. I don't know why they individually baggy those. So these are gonna go in here. They should be the right size. What I might have you do while I dig on the floor. Just get those finger tight.
Okay.
And they're all there. And I'll go look on the floor for what it dropped. There's one. There's two. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cool. Okay. So the thickest one, I'm pretty sure, is this one. A lot of them, either they come in individual packages or they come color coded. So you know exactly which one's which. But I'm fairly certain this is the thickest one, so it'll go on the side closest to us. So I'm going to lift this up a little bit. And now you'll see that that tension holds that on there, and it'll all get real tight. A couple things about doing this, that just for pointing it out because we're doing it. When you come up here, these are meant to wind around the inside. Even on this side, they'll go around this way.
Okay.
Because, like we were talking about earlier, you don't want too much angle.
Yeah.
And if coming to the outside will like absolutely stretch that way out there. I see a lot of people mess that up.
Really?
They end up doing it the wrong way, or they'll do them all the same way. So like where this is going around this way, they'll end up doing this side around this way. And it just puts more tension on here, and you break more strings, and they don't stay in tune, and you overall worse time.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, there's one.
5 more.
Yeah. All right, so I got this tuned up. I couldn't find my little gold tuner, so we're working off a clip-on up here. It's off camera, but it's on, and we're tuned up to pitch or close enough to it. I'm gonna check the action real quick. And then we're going to check neck straightness. It's kind of backwards from how. So that low string sitting at almost exactly 70 thousandths of an inch. You see it's tapered And it tells you exactly how high it should be. For an electric guitar, that's actually probably pretty close for the bass side. The treble side is high. So what we'll do is we'll screw that in. Wait, is it in? It is in, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll go in about that much. Line it back up. Nice and straight. Now it's out of tune. It's a fun cycle. Okay, I'm gonna check the neck straightness real quick. So this has got all the notches in it for the frets, right? And one side will fit this and the other side won't. And I don't think I've ever chosen the right side the first time. If either side will fit this guitar. Oh, I'm starting in the wrong spot. That's the problem. So what you can do is, so now you're not looking at the frets anymore. You're looking at the actual straightness of the board.
Okay.
I'm not gonna pick it up to be able to see it. But there's gonna be a little gap in here. So where we're sitting on the board here and we're sitting on the board down here, where we should be, there's gonna be a gap in the middle. So you'll be able to see underneath it. And it's actually really good. It's really close to really straight. So straight would mean no gap. And you don't want actually straight because it makes it where the strings are going to buzz off the other frets. You want just a little bit of relief.
Sure.
And so actually it's really, really close to perfect the way it is. I need to trim these off, but I think we're just about done.
Cool.
Plug it in, make sure the electronics work. Trim this off.
We got a guitar.
We got a guitar. Alright, I forgot one important detail thing to do. I want to do a final wax. Or I'm going to have Josh do a final wax.
Oh boy.
So, it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
There's a little guy in there, which, have a glove.
Thank you.
What you're going to do is, in small sections, like this quarter, put a little bit of that on. Just take that little cloth, rub it on, and then take the clean cloth and rub everything you rubbed on off. You're going to have to push kind of hard.
Okay.
I'll show you.
Yeah.
So, just make sure there's a little bit of wax on there. And we're just going to kind of rub that on. It's going to look kind of goofy. And then, using the clean one, basically you're just rubbing it off.
And this is...
This is actually finishing wax. So it'll leave a really thin coat on. You're working it in. You're not really rubbing it off. But,
So I'll need to find a clean side of that every time?
you will try to find a clean side because eventually there's going to be too much buildup on it.
Okay.
But yeah. And so the reason we do it in small segments is this dries really hard. So the longer it sits on there, the harder it is to get off.
Got it.
So we do it in little sections to do it that way. So I'll let you go with that. If you want another glove, you can have another glove too.
So I'm like, just taking this,
And do a little section.
thinking I have some on there,
It stays in there, so it's going to have some on
and
there.
then just...
Do a little section. That's pretty good. And then take the clean one and try to rub it all off. And you can push pretty good. You're going to need to. While I get hooked up to play. Stash that back away. I think we move the camera and play this darn thing.
That's a really warm sound. The action's really actually pretty good.
I had to tighten the truss rod in the negative direction because
Oh,
I had to tighten it this way
Or had a-
because it was
it had
so
a
low.
pump in there?
Yeah, it was so low. It was buzzing in the low frets.
Really?
Yeah.
Plays a lot better than I thought it was going to.
I would agree with you. I think the neck is in a lot better shape than I was thinking. The frets are a little almost crunchy. Not that bending. Just bending them just feels a
They're
little.
not sharp. Did you file them?
Yes, we did. Yeah, Josh did one, and I did the rest.
The one for the camera.
I had Josh do it, and I was like, "No, I'm gonna embarrass you," and I just went.
Yeah, because like I didn't know. Like,
No, it was fine. I was like, "All right, Josh gets to try it, and then I'll finish it off." I thought it was better that way. I really like the color.
It's fucking bright.
I think it's
It's really
great.
damn bright.
I
bro.
think it's great though. Like, it is good. Looking at it, seeing it being played, I think it's great. I think the volume difference is the fact that the bass is boosted on the amp. If you need to tune yours tuner, they are brand new strings. I think it's right here.
It sounds a lot better than I thought it would.
Think about pick guard. You think no pick guard? I think no pick guard. I think you hide the pink.
I really like both.
I don't think I want it on there.
I would agree.
Yeah, I mean, I
But
think
for right
black
now,
would be good.
I thought the color was like, whenever I first saw it, I was like, I don't know about that, but it might potentially maybe be growing on me.
I just love how like the whole thing, like we were talking about what color, and I was like hot pink,
yeah, let's just do
and
it.
then that's what we did.
Yeah, it's very much the watermelon guitar.
Oh yeah, it's still very watermelon. Like it's not probably the pink we were aiming for, but like.
Oh, it was what I was aiming for.
Well, when we started, I was not thinking watermelon.
Dude, how is it not Friday? Every day this week has felt like Friday.
Because we're hanging out, man.
It's gotta be.
Yeah. I don't know if it's the strings or the frets. I kind of think it's the strings.
Are these the strings that came with it?
Yep.
They're like kind of chalky.
That's probably it. They were 9s. I think I'm gonna put 10s on it.
So how long ago did you finish it?
You walked in. I was getting ready to record the last.
Oh,
So like
I'll be quiet. Sorry.
literally right now. All right. Well, we got this thing done. You will probably have seen Troy playing it a little bit. I would give it to Josh to play it, but we can actually get a little bit of you holding it at least.
Okay.
You know, so it looks like we got at least Josh holding it. Look at that, Josh with his guitar.
Yeah, I know nothing about. Don't know how to hold. Don't know how to play.
So let's see. Between clips, I had to loosen the truss rod. It was a little too tight. We were buzzing up here. Beyond that, not a whole lot. Fixing a couple of our own little mistakes, but like making sure the pickups were right. But it plays good. It sounds good. I'm actually really happy with it. I'm impressed. We did it in 3 days.
Yeah.
It looks really good for 3 days.
2 days of finish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a day of assembly. So once again, this was Festly on Amazon. They sent me this. There should be a link in the description. Other than that, I think we're gonna wrap this one up on this guy. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed our little kit build and all of my guest stars. I'll see y'all later.